Welcome to Teaching Truth. My name is Glenn Cartwright. What are the 7 most influential words which have been spoken in the history of the world? Might it be, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Or perhaps, we shall fight them on the beaches. Or maybe, this is one giant leap for mankind. Or even, a plane just hit the South Tower. Influential as these words are in the arena of literature, statesmanship, human endeavour, and the analysis of human evil, how many of them will really register more than a blip on the radar screen of history 2,000 years from now? Well, probably none of them in comparison to the most influential words ever spoken of Jesus Christ following his resurrection. 7 words. He is not here. He has risen. Why 2,000 years after his death on a cross, which we remember just a few days ago, does a wandering prophet from an obscure village in Israel who was born in a lowly stable have 2 billion followers from across the world? Why should this one man, who never owned a home, who never wrote a book, and who never studied at a theological college, defy the odds of historical obscurity to become and stand as the central figure and centre point of human history? Well, quite simply because he is the only person in human history who claimed to be the Son of God and validated that claim beyond any shadow of a doubt by defying death's stranglehold and breaking out of his tomb 3 days after he was put to death. My faith and your faith, our faith in Jesus Christ, stands or falls on the simple fact of the resurrection of Jesus. Now, were Jesus still dead and in the tomb, his whole life and his whole teaching would amount to nothing. Virtually every other religion is based on a theological dictum, ideology, or philosophy, rather than on the historical fact of its founder's identity or a defining event that shaped the history of the world. Such was the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The attestation of the resurrection of Jesus Christ is summed up well by Josh McDowell, who wrote this, quote, "The resurrection of Jesus is either one of the most wicked, heartless, vicious hoaxes ever foisted upon the minds of men, or it is the most fantastic fact of history ever." Let me suggest to you that on the basis of the fact that the Lord has risen and Jesus is alive, that it takes massively more faith to believe that a man who had spikes driven through his limbs and nails riveted into his hands, who had died an agonizing death on a cross, could untangle himself from the burial cloths wrapped around his body, push a huge stone away from the entrance of the tomb, pass through a squadron of soldiers guarding the site, and walk 7 miles from Jerusalem to Emmaus with 2 travellers who did not notice he was wounded. It takes massively more faith to believe that. But Jesus, on that first Easter Sunday evening, because he had risen from the dead, was able to walk with holes in his feet, and had full use of his hands, because we read that Jesus broke bread. If his resurrection was a fake, we could come up from a medical point of view with many bodily functions that would have caused him excruciating pain. If by some miracle Jesus and his disciples pulled this one off, he would have looked so physically weak and anemic that no one would have been amazed. I mean, had there been a half-dead Jesus, do you seriously think that the disciples would have been excited once they had seen their risen Lord, and would have been able to get the multitudes fired up in the way they did? To put it simply, it takes more faith not to believe in the resurrection of Jesus than to believe in the actual, real, physical, bodily resurrection of Jesus Christ. Let me say that again. It takes massively more faith not to believe in the resurrection of Jesus than to simply believe in the actual, real, physical, bodily resurrection of him. And so Easter Sunday, or Resurrection Sunday, as we celebrated yesterday, and Easter is not about Easter bunnies or Easter eggs, nice though these things are in and of themselves, but it's about celebrating the undeniable and exciting fact that Jesus rose from the dead. That he, as the hymn says, tore the bars away on that first Easter Sunday. Now, against that backdrop, the attestation of the resurrection, I'd like to journey in our reflections this week back to that first Easter Sunday, that first Resurrection Sunday morning, to look through, as it were, the macro lens of the camera, capturing the events at the empty tomb of Jesus, to not only see what happened, but what it means for you and me in this Easter week. Join me tomorrow in Teaching Truth.